Now it's working. Okay, thank you. Okay, so let me do that again. I'm reconvening the regular Board of Education meeting for Thursday, August 23rd, 2018. And we will ask Nicole Latimer to please lead us in the pledge.
United States of America, and to the republic for which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. And let's see, roll call, all trustees are still present. I would like to announce that Superintendent Luna is not here. She's attending to a family matter. Announcement of actions taken in closed session. E1, Government Code Section 54957, Public Employee Discipline, Dismissal, Release. Information received. E2, Government Code 54956.9, D2, Conference with legal counsel, pending and potential litigation, 2 cases. Information received and direction given. Okay. We now move to the approval of the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, very good. Motion by Kobe Pizzotti and seconded by Sarah Kirby-Gonzalez. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimously passed. Thank you. We'll now move to communication and celebrations. J1, first weeks of school, Yorgos Kasanis, communications and community outreach.
Good evening, trustees. So tonight, because pictures speak louder than words, we wanted to walk you through this first week and a half of school, and actually the entire month of August, because Washington Unified is just busy, teeming with activity, and we wanted to share some of that action and activities with you tonight and our audience as well. So one of the first activities that usually kicks off our school year before kids are actually in the classroom is National Night Out. I'm sure you're all familiar with this evening where we ride around the neighborhood together with our partners from West Sacramento Police Department. And we just go to different neighborhoods, different block parties, visiting with community members, seeing our students right before they actually get ready to attend our schools, just having a good time and getting out there and engaging with our community. One of the next events that we had in early August, on August 9th and 10th, was our new teacher orientation. This was heavily attended by all of our new teachers that are part of the Washington Unified family. Superintendent Luna, HR department, all of our departments and teams here at Washington Unified get together for these 2-day process and walk our new teachers through an entire orientation. One of the more exciting things that actually happens throughout that process is that they too get to ride on a school bus and tour our entire district, visiting all of our elementary schools and high schools in the area, and they actually get a fun little welcome surprise once we actually pull up to all the campuses. So it takes a little bit of coordination, but it's actually a fun activity when the bus actually pulls up to each elementary school and high school that we've got. The staff there that's already hard at work, the principals, sometimes as you see some of the mascots actually come out to the curbside, they're doing their best to welcome our new teachers onto the team. Some of the more fun things that were going on were at Elkhorn. They had Eye of the Tiger playing on loudspeakers. Some of the mascots actually came aboard the bus and interacted with our new teachers. It was really a good day, good activity to be a part of. And that whole 2-day process, we really owe a lot of thanks to all of our employees, but Washington Teachers Association or the West Sacramento Teachers Association, Christy Jordan, who is basically our all-purpose all-star in Washington Unified, our tech department, and of course our driver for the day, Nate Hill, who's our supervisor of transportation. I don't think we could have put together a better team of hospitality and ambassadors for Washington Unified to welcome these new employees here. The closer we get to the start of school, we had on August 11th, which many of you also attended, the Yolo County Children's Alliance, together with our school district and other community organizations, put together the big Backs to School Supply Drive and Resource Fair. As you all saw that day, it was pretty heavily attended. We were at the Bright campus right near the NCCT building. The line of community members that were waiting to get in and take advantage of this opportunity was actually around the block, and it went past the parking lot where the Bright Culinary Campus is at. So it was awesome to see so many people in the community taking advantage of that. And it was also awesome to see how many folks came together to put together in upwards of 800 backpacks and hygiene packs and basically every kind of item that was handed out there. So many people took advantage of that, and that was amazing. And we actually owe a lot of that thanks to the awesome team from the Yolo County Children's Alliance, but especially our Student Services Department. These individuals, year after year, they put in a lot of time and effort to work with all these community organizations, and they take such pride and ownership in the event that it's really become a flagship event for them and for Washington Unified too. They were even also to capitalize on the fact that they could take some of these packs, backpacks and hygiene packs and all these supplies back to individual school sites that we have here in Washington Unified and hand them out to kids that actually need a little bit of assistance to start the school year as well. So that was also a great thing to see. And of course, on August 13th and 14th, we had our annual Welcome Back breakfast for both certificated and classified employees throughout the district. This is a fun event as well. It's usually hosted at River City High School. Together with the Food Services Department, our cabinet team gets together and we serve breakfast that day to all of our employees who are, happy to come by and get a bite to eat before we get together for our big rallies in the morning. So we usually have on both mornings, Superintendent Luna gives some special remarks and just gives us a little bit of motivation to start the school year. We've also have the West Sac Teachers Association who come in and speak to their association members as well, and also CSEA. But one of the more fun things that we had going on last year and this year, which has become actually an exciting tradition to look forward to, is that these events actually turn into spirit rallies. So what the directions that we had for every school site, every department, every team of employees that we have in the district, they rallied together with their individual school or department. They had to wear swag that represented their department or school, and they were charged with the idea of coming up with a song that represents their department or their school. So it was very much like a high school pep rally where, we're announcing a school site or department in the stands. They get 30 seconds to show us how much spirit and pride they have about their team going into the school year. And then officially we have 3 judges who represented the tallying of the votes to see exactly who had the loudest and most amount of pride going into the school year. So we're thankful to our 3 judges. I wasn't able to find a picture of them, but I want to send a shout out to Nakiba Gregory, Colin Malik, and Doug Knepp. They volunteered again this year to be our awesome officiators for the games. And Stonegate Elementary actually took the prize home for the Certificated Spirit Champions, and classified was Food Services Department. And just a quick note that Food Services this is their 2nd year running where they've won the Spirit Rally. So I think they're anxious to get a three-peat going, but all the other departments are aware of the challenge now. And to cap it off too, both the school and the Food Services Department actually get a trophy with a quick little blurb on there about what it means to have school spirit or department spirit. And they get to keep that either at their school or at their department for the entire year, and it'll be a rotating trophy throughout the years. And hopefully it'll be an ongoing tradition that we've got going on. So it was a lot of fun to be a part of. And of course, first day of school on August 15th. This has been a new little tradition that we've started here in Washington Unified called Rolling Out the Red Carpet. We started it last year at Bridgeway Island Elementary, and this year we were hosted by the Riverbank Otters. So a quick overview of what this is you can see on the far left of the pictures, there literally is a red carpet going onto the campus with a photo station and a photo square so that kids and families coming into school on the first day can have a little bit of fun and be treated like the all-stars that they are. So we reach out to Good Day Sacramento for this particular event, and you can see in some of the other photos, Tina Makua, who's one of the local news personalities here in Sacramento. She joined us that morning together with her team, and it was very much like a Hollywood look and feel to it. She was interviewing kids coming onto campus. She was interviewing students. You can see the big group of teachers right outside the main office in the main photo in the middle there. They were all welcoming students and families onto campus. It was a lot of activity, but a lot of fun. And obviously, the all-stars of that event are all of our kiddos that were able to take advantage of this and get into school for the first day and get some of those jitters out by having a little fun activity. So these are just some of the snapshots that we were able to take that morning, but it actually was a really fun event. You can see a lot more of the photos on our Washington Unified Facebook page. There's an entire gallery up there where you can get a lot more glimpse into the morning's activities. But the segment was featured live on Good Day Sacramento that morning, and it kind of leads into a lot of what we want to do to engage our community and our students and make it a fun event to come to school and not necessarily something that's nervous or nerve-wracking for everyone. And of course, fast forward to last evening, on August 22nd, we had various back-to-school nights. I know some of you were joining us at the CVRA Community Forum that was being held at Southport Elementary, which went well. There were also back-to-school nights at River City High School and the grades 6 through 8 at Bridgeway Island Elementary. And as you can see, parents were eager to come in and get this year's information and see how they can be a part of their children's learning and how they can be a part of the school community as well. So all those events were very well attended. Everyone had a good time, and we just wanted to share some of these glimpses with you. I know sometimes even with our staff or our community out there, it's hard to necessarily go to every single thing in the community, but we're happy to showcase them here at our board meetings as well so that everyone feels part of the action. And that's what we've got so far. We're wishing everyone a very exciting and wonderful school year. And if there's anything else that you'd like to add, please feel free.
Oh, that's great.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we will now move on to association reports. WSTA, Don Stauffer.
Good evening. Well, so we've been in school a little bit over a week now. I have to say, at least for me, and I think for most everybody, it's been great to see the kids. And as usual, and has always been true, they're Washington Unified's greatest asset. So it's been a lot of fun. So I have to say things seem to be off to a good start, at least from our end of the world. There's lots of questions and lots of feeling our way around our new schedule, as well as the new curriculum being adopted, the way English language development is being taught and offered, among other things. So there's lots on everyone's plates, but I think we're feeling our way through it. And most people are doing their best to make things work. Overall, though, I'm encouraged, and I know we'll continue to have more conversations with Ed Services to make sure everything goes really, really well. So I was in my classroom last night with open house. I didn't see you folks, but I'm assuming you guys were there. And and there's more coming, and I'm hoping you guys get out to see our open houses. But I'm also hoping you get out and see actually our classes in action and our kids in the classroom. I think you'll be really impressed with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. CSEA report, I believe.
I just wanted to make a note that Daniel Gandara did send us an update, so just for the record, and he unfortunately is has a conflict at a football meeting, but we've received his update, so I wanted to acknowledge that on television. Thank you, Daniel, wherever you are.
Okay. There are no public comments at this moment, but I will read, because we do have some later on some items. At this time, the members of the public may address the board on topics that are under the jurisdiction of the board and are not on the agenda, although the board by law may not take action at this meeting. The board may limit the total time for public input on any topic to 20 minutes unless it chooses to waive the item limit for a particular item. Individual speakers may be limited to 3 minutes to comment on any topic. Public comments consisting of individual charges, complaints, or derogatory remarks about any district employee are requested to be submitted in writing to the administration in accordance with the district's complaint procedure. We do recognize that for a lot of people, commenting before the board and an audience and the people watching at home on television is a nerve-wracking experience. So to try to make that as easy as possible, we do ask that there not be any applause or booing or catcalling or other demonstrations to maintain a civil discourse here in the chambers. The board respects the right of members of the public to speak to us regarding matters on the agenda and other matters within the jurisdiction of the board. However, it is important for members of the public to recognize that comments regarding students other than the speaker's own children made during a public board meeting may be legally actionable as a violation of student privacy. Both state and federal law prohibit the board and others from discussing confidential student information in open session. To this end, be advised that if you reference a student's name other than your own student, you will be out of order and your comments may not be protected by the privileges that protect public speech. You could be found liable for such comments in legal proceedings. Furthermore, it is important for the public to understand that negative or derogatory comments made against district employees or others, even those made in public board meetings, may be actionable civil defamation. As such, the board reminds the public that the district has existing board policy that allows the public to lodge a complaint against the district employee. This policy provides a comprehensive procedure for reviewing and responding to public complaints. This process provides a more thorough opportunity to be heard than is allowed under the open meeting law that governs this meeting. We'll now move on to our consent agenda. Very good.
A second.
Okay, trustee Pizzotti made the motion, seconded by trustee Wong. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously approved. We will now move on to our public hearings. I will now open our public hearing. And one, input on draft trustee area boundary maps. William Tunick, legal counsel.
Sorry about that. Good evening, Board. William Tunick with Dennis Walliver Kelly. Again, here tonight to speak to you on the Board's progress on its trustee area map boundaries. Just by way of background, and I'll introduce our guest on the phone as well. The Board began this process in April with adoption of a resolution of intent to change from at-large to trustee area elections. It held public hearings before the maps were drafted in June, and then had the first draft maps that came out the beginning of July. There was a board meeting, a special board meeting on July 19th, and public hearing on those maps. There was some public comment, I believe, at that time on those maps, I believe mostly in favor of the green map, I think it was known at that point. Understand since then there was a community workshop last night, and so that brings us to tonight, which is the second public hearing on these maps. I think one thing I wanted to mention last time too was that obviously the maps that you have before you are drafts at this point, and in some respects this process requires you to start from somewhere. We have to have maps in order to change or make variations or revisions to. So that's where these first draft maps came from. I don't know that there were any strong comments at that first public hearing as far as making changes, but that's definitely something that we're looking for from the board tonight as far as any direction on revisions, variations, other types of maps, anything like that. We're kind of in the middle of this process, and that's really what it's all about. So you'll have your second public hearing tonight with public comment and board direction. Then there'll be actually 2 additional public hearings with the scheduled adoption at the September 27th meeting. So that's sort of where you are in the process. I also wanted to introduce, hopefully you can hear us, we have Dr. Justin Levitt, who's with National Demographics Corporation. He's on the phone tonight. If we have any questions about the map specifically, he'll be able to answer them. We can also bring them up on the screen if that's necessary. And of course, I'll be here as well to answer any questions about the process or the maps. So I think with that, we'd move on to the public hearing. Like I said, I think tonight the idea is to get, if there's any directions or questions from the board, now would be the time to talk about that.
Okay.
Couple public comments.
We do have,
Presentation.
right. Is there going to be a presentation made on the,
Is there going to be a presentation?
Mr. Tunick, is there anything that's going to be presented up there?
No, I mean, we can walk through,
okay.
I'm happy to walk through the maps again, but it's essentially the same thing that we saw.
We do have two public comments. First one is from Martha Hanson.
Hi, so last night I was at the meeting, and I was a little confused by the mapping. Quite frankly, I'm just not that good at mapping. So I had the night to look them over, research them, and do a few things. And so far, it looks like the green map might give more voices to areas that haven't had them in quite a while and are very well deserving of them. My neighborhood being one of them. Currently, we are a part of Southport, but other than our actual physical location, we have nothing in common with Southport as a whole. I feel that the majority of the people from my neighborhood identify more with the state streets and, directly the other side of the port. And so I feel like if somebody from my neighborhood were to run, they would have more of an idea of what the people that surround them need. I feel like if we were noted to be a bigger part of Southport, then our voices might get a little lost. I'm not saying that's the case, right now, or I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm saying maybe people from my neighborhood, or people from Broderick, or people from, Bright, they might feel that way. And I feel like the green map, so far, I know it's just kind of a rough draft thing, but going off of these maps, I feel like that's going to be the best idea as to give people voices that haven't had them in a while. So, thank you.
Thank you. Have a second comment, public comment from Kimberly Muntink. I'm sorry, Kimberly.
It's okay. Everyone does it. It's okay. Kimberly Muntink, a parent in the Bridgeway Island community. I just wanted to, I went to the public meeting last night, so thank you very much for having that and that discussion. And I went through the PowerPoint presentation, and there was a question at the end asking if you prefer your neighborhood to be kept together in one district or have multiple representatives. And on the green map, Bridgeway Island Elementary would be represented by 2, and all the other 2 maps, it would have 3 representatives. And so I would actually only want 1 representative in our area. I think that the other representation currently, we do have a lot, but 1 representative would be great. 2 would be at most, but I think 3 on those other maps is really overdoing it. So I just want to share that comment here.
Thank you. Okay. So, does anyone have any comments on the maps? Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Sarah, okay, that's very good. Okay, Sarah, would you like to comment on the map?
I think this is our time, especially since we have Dr. Levitt on the phone to have these conversations. So a few things came up in terms of with community voices and making me think about our meeting that we had last night as well. And that is that we've spent as a board and then also individually a lot of time in this world right now of CVRA, because it has been a discussion we've had in this boardroom for a few years now, and it's now come to us with potential litigation. And so because of that, our hands have, been tied in some ways. So we have lived this and had presentations and talked about it, and I have to remind myself that our community hasn't. And so it's really important that we get this information out and that it's done in a way that is understandable of where this is coming from and what the intent is and how we're meeting this obligation. And so the meeting that we had initially with our demographer was on July 19th. And there was a PowerPoint done. The PowerPoint is online, but I think I've seen us do this before where we can take a piece of the video, the meeting minutes out, and then maybe post it on the CVRA website that we have as well, so that the public can hear the initial presentation. They can see it, but then they can hear it as well, I think would be helpful. A few things that came out of the meeting. We, of course, you can find out where the neighborhood schools are going through your locator of where is my neighborhood school. You can go to Google Maps, but it would be nice if it's on these maps, and that did come out from the community forum. It's nice to know, do areas have 1 school, 2 schools, how many are in them? So I think if the feedback was to be able to see that easily. So if there's a way to include the schools, I know that we are not supposed to use district boundaries for this, but if we could see them, it would help us, I think, make informed decisions, was a comment that came up. And I think that would be important for people to see. And then to understand the process of hiring demographers, that came up. Of course, the way that this process works, and that is not our process, the legal process, is a demographer is, you bring in a demographer. This board, instead of hiring one at a meeting, actually asks to bring it back so that there could be more information. I think some of us have been very vocal about how uncomfortable that we felt with pieces of that coming from us to the community versus the community to us. So we worked to make sure that that was at a public meeting, that more information was provided, there was dialogue. And so that did come up at our meeting in terms of the demographer and how that works, as well as our meetings that we are having to include people. And so I want to reach out to the community right now and say that we, of course, need your help. We're all partners. We need your help on everything when it comes to helping volunteer in the classroom, when it comes to, in terms of fundraising, all the things we do, we need our community, and we need the community to help us to share these meeting dates that we have. And we want to be very open about it. We've been transparent about it. Thank you, Yorgos, for the postings that you've done on social media as well. It's been presented, of course, at board meetings, but it's hard for folks to get the information that we hear so much and we've talked about. So I think that I would like to say that to our community, that please help us to share. There's a meeting coming up, and bring a neighbor, bring a friend, because we want to hear from you. Also, on the website, the Board of Education, then you go to CVRA, this is another piece that came up, is you can send your comments that will go to the demographer and to us as well, and they'll be recorded. And so I know some of my comments right now are not per se about changing the maps, but I think they're important for the public to know because they came up at our meeting. So there is a way to have feedback online as well. And so, and we did make note of all of the feedback that was shared last night. And so thank you for coming and sharing again for the board as a whole. But I think adding the schools will be very helpful for people.
Okay, thank you. I also attended the meeting, and I want to thank everyone who did come out. It seems our numbers are getting larger. I believe we had about 17 people in attendance, so it was very good. We got some very good feedback. Just want to also mention that we do have a schedule of the next meetings that are coming up for those that would like to attend. And there was a recommendation that we get a little more user-friendly for those folks that don't quite often navigate our website. So Yorgos said he would do that, and I just want to let everyone know that he does a great job, and he's constantly trying to improve access to information for WSD. It appears that people really like the green map. Most of what we've heard is the green map is very representative of different neighborhoods. And I wanted to mention that there were some very good recommendations made. Someone referenced one of the areas that was divided by a railroad. There are quite a few mobile home parks there, and yet one tiny little area where there's mobile home parks is being kept divided. It's actually in another district, so it would be nice for continuity to keep that that area with the other district. So that is a recommendation that I think was very good, and it will be made. So we had a lot of community members look at the maps, and they've also made some other recommendations that we do encourage you to use our website with, and I believe the board is very cognizant of how the community is feeling, and it seems to be very positive. Everyone likes these neighborhood districts, and we're really pleased to hear that we're having more people, come in and give input, and we encourage you to let other family members know. We're having our next one, I believe, on September 5th at the Bright Cafe, and that's going to be in the morning. So we encourage those parents that can't attend to come, because we really need to hear from you. And I believe that is all.
I just got a quick comment.
Of course.
Yeah, so on some of these maps, as I look at them that are on our website, it's kind of misleading because some of them say 2018 areas 1 and 5 and so forth, when in actuality there isn't one area up in 2018. You have an at-large in 2018. So technically, people looking at that are going to be misled to think that there's going to be a district election this year, and that's not the case. So if we can just make some amendments to the map legend, where you maybe take that off and say only 3 area maps will be for 2020, and then 2022 there'll be 5 new areas. So
Very good recommendation.
And I have a question for our demographer, since he's on the phone right now, Mr. Levitt. And I don't know how this accounts into anything, but we've heard from the community about access in terms of neighborhoods and it being challenging to run. Of course, we've all knocked on every door, and but it is true. Thinking about access and how you can get to folks, and so this would be one question I have. Our I think probably our most expensive area to live in the in West Sacramento is in a gated community in this District 1 or 2, depending on where you're looking. And so if there's a gated community, does that tie in? I mean, are people not allowed, because I assume you're not allowed to go into a gated community to knock on doors. So I'm just wondering if that has any bearing or piece of this conversation, because people are talking about access, and I almost wonder if it will be more challenging for some people if they're right next to a gated community.
Well, hi, this is Justin Levitt, and I am just, it's a pleasure to speak with you tonight. In terms of how that factored in, I mean, every block within the district has to be assigned to one of the districts. Of course, with gated communities, there are, I don't know exactly what the election rules are for canvassing in different communities, but that is certainly something we can take into account if that community would be better linked with other neighborhoods. That is certainly something that we can take a look at and come back with another draft if you think that would be the case. We try to keep adjacent communities together as much as possible, but sometimes that isn't the preferred solution. Sometimes two communities that are slightly more distant have more in common, or for factors such as this, easy to run, have more demographics in common. We could put those communities together.
Oh, I wanted to mention something. I live in a gated community. However, because of the way we are located, the public has right of access to the levee. So people are able to access our neighborhood, even though it's gated. They're able to come in because of the levee, and that was the agreement that was made. So that's over in the rivers, just to give you an example.
Well, and also in that area, there's no way you could draw that into another like area with it, because it would be non-contiguous. So it has to be, there's no way around drawing that without gerrymandering it so bad that it would not fit. So
I just wanted, to make the point, because it's come up a lot from the community in terms of access and neighborhoods and equity. And I think when we look at the map, that's the biggest equity piece I see as an issue. So I wanted to make that note, whether or not it makes sense or is able to change. I just think it's important for the record.
Well, excuse me if you don't mind. And a lot of these changes, any change to the maps, we have to bear in mind that it has to keep the change in the map would have to keep the community of interest.
Of course.
Absolutely.
At its integrity. So, while one person may have an idea that we want to keep the trailer parks all in one area, that may not be possible due to it might move out a community of interest. Or a protected class area. So that's one thing we all have to keep in mind. These aren't our rules. We're not making them up. So it's what we have to live by in terms of the CVRA. You might want to have, the representative from National Demographic explain that part of it.
Sure. Dr. Levitt, you want to handle as far as just, any of these revisions that we make obviously have to comply with the legal, kind of the basic legal requirements, and we're sort of stuck with that framework in some respects.
Yeah. That's completely correct. And, we can give you ideas on what moving different neighborhoods might be, how many people affected, but we do have to keep under 10% deviation difference between the largest and smallest. Right now, the green map is at about 5%, just over 5% deviation. So there is some flexibility in there. But if we start moving a couple hundred, maybe even 1,000 people, then that will have to be offset by something else. So that's just the limitations of what the courts require in district election drawing districts.
Any other comments or questions?
No, sorry, just having a discussion because I was thinking about the mobile homes kind of, is there a way to actually, have you taken that into consideration? How do you, there's a concern with splitting an actual neighborhood of a mobile home community, so just wondering if that could be taken into account on the next draft of this?
And I was wondering if I could get that kind of specific location so that I can just take a look at that.
Yeah.
Right here, I have the map pulled up right here. I can take a look at that right now.
Yeah, and there's several throughout West Sacramento, so I understand that it might not be there. I mean, there are a lot of them, so just kind of makes sense if we're trying to keep communities of interest and neighborhoods together. Mobile park homes are a community, so we should keep them together. The other thing is, Trustee Sarah Kirby-Gonzalez brought up something that's interesting, not necessarily about the gated community, so just kind of economic demographics. Like how do you, not necessarily gated, not gated, but the question then becomes income levels, that keeping those income levels might make a lot of, kind of good sense to keep together because certain people of certain level of resources live in a gated community and others, and so how does that kind of comport? In terms of a community of interest, right? So you don't want to have one section of a trustee area, be more, influential in a vote in that district than others. So maybe consider that as well. I don't know if you consider that, but economics.
And I think if I can, Dr. Levy, you can interrupt me if I get this wrong. I think you've got along with each map on the demographics information that came along with it, you should have the household income numbers for each area. So I think that's one of those places when we talk about communities of interest and whether or not you want those to be sort of concentrated or maybe more spread out, where we can do it legally. That's probably one of those types of things is do you want to try to concentrate that versus have it spread? And those numbers are, I think, probably the best way to sort of visualize that. I don't know, Dr. Levitt, if you've got anything else to add on that.
Yeah, those do provide a demographic overview of the different neighborhoods or of the different districts that are drawn in the different maps or trustee areas. Interestingly enough, looking at the RV or trailer park communities, some of them have very different demographics from each other as well. There's one that's sort of toward the east of the district, west of the 80-50 interchange. It looks very demographically different than those that are along Capitol Avenue. In terms of income, race, education, and so forth. And so it's and these are the trade-offs that we have to look at going through this process. Does it make more sense to group them all together, or does it make more sense to take different factors into account? And it really is a balancing act. And yes, we're happy to show you whatever you'd like to see. So we can certainly take a look into whatever you'd like.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
All right, can I ask, are you seeing, if somebody submits feedback on the website, are you seeing that in real time? Are you seeing that immediately, or who does that go to? What does that process look like in terms of how maybe you might see that information and it's shared publicly?
If you ask us, for example, to produce a new map, we would try to have something in the next couple of days before your next forum. That would probably be probably be part of the public discussion for that upcoming public workshop. Otherwise, if it's something that's, something that can't be done or involves a more complicated decision, it's probably something we would want to bring back at the next meeting and kind of explain what's going on in more detail. It can be very hard to just produce a map that doesn't do what you want it to do, because it's not possible given population numbers or other factors. And we want to explain why we couldn't do that.
Sure.
And I think, if I may, Trustee, to sort of answer your question too, I'll make sure that, I'm going to work with staff to make sure that that information coming in through the website is both getting to the demographer, because I'm not honestly sure if it's going straight there, if it's coming through the district. So I'll confirm that either way it's getting there and that it's getting to the board, and also look into publicly posting that to make sure that process is already happening.
Good.
Thank you for that, because if anything's coming through the website, I haven't seen it. And so, I mean, we're unaware.
Yeah.
So we would love to be informed of anything that's coming in, so we'd have the opportunity to then take that into consideration when we look at these.
Yeah.
Of course.
And then we have, of course, our meeting notes that we're taking everything so that those are shared with everyone, since we don't want to be in, a Brown Act violation and calling up and telling people what happened. So if those can be shared in the same way when we have our forums, I know we can also share information here as we did out loud, but, I didn't share every single word written down just for sake of, it was.
Brevity.
Yeah, so if there's a way that we can see from the forums coupled with that, the information, because that will help us make our informed questions, what we want to see.
Okay, Trustee Pizzotti?
Yeah, so when Trustee Wong and I hosted our meeting, I'll just make the comment that it appeared that the green map was the one that was preferred at that meeting as well. So just for, or it was just after that meeting that the green map was released, and same folks.
It seems
made
aligned to the comments that were
Right.
submitted at our first meeting, yes.
Right, yeah.
Before we had maps. So it seems that maybe those comments informed the drafting of these
Yeah,
maps.
right.
Yes.
Anyone else?
If I can just summarize to
Of
make sure
course,
I've got
please.
everything. First of all, on the process piece, the email and the form notes, or the website submissions, the form notes, making sure we get those up. The sequencing dates, which I thought we had taken care of, but we will take care of. The video clip, the school locations on the map, which I don't believe will be much of an issue. And then, I think the only direction I thought I got as far as variations on the maps was as far as maybe this, not necessarily putting all the mobile home parks in one area, but making sure that we don't split individual mobile home parks into multiple districts. Is that, I think, Trustee Ayers, I should say. Was that essentially the direction?
Well, there was a recommendation because there's railroad running through there.
Yeah,
And there just seems to be a continuity with,
Okay.
with the area.
okay.
As much as possible.
Yeah.
It was following Sacramento, Avenue. It was in that area
Okay,
on the green map,
okay.
was the question.
And
And by seeing the schools there, that will help us as well, because I wouldn't want to, Westfield with Riverbank, I mean, that's also an important thing to look at in terms of, yeah.
Trustee Pizzotti?
yeah, and in doing so, would we have to take the entire census tract that area falls in?
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I probably should defer to Dr. Levitt on that one, but actually, I'll let you answer that one as far as, I don't believe we're allowed to split census tracts, so.
Well, we're not allowed to split census blocks.
Blocks,
But
sorry.
blocks
That's
are
what I
like the
meant, I'm
size of a
sorry.
city block. And they're not generally incredibly big, even though some of them in the district have over 1,000 people living in them, so population-wise, they're large. And what we'll do is we can take a look at that area and see how many people live in there. And if it's just a handful of people, there may not need to be any offsetting anywhere else.
Right.
Okay.
If it is large, we'll come back with an option, and you can, be able to have it well in advance of the next meeting to decide whether or not that trade-off is something you're willing to make. But to answer the question directly, we can't divide a census block,
Right.
especially a populated one.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think is that our direction for the next one? So I think we've got, just to double check, we've got the next community forum on September 5th, I believe, at the Bright Cafe, and then we've got, I think that's the next one. Make sure I got that right.
Southport on the,
Yeah, at 8:30, right? Yep, in the morning. And then we've got the next board meeting, the third public hearing is going to be September 13th. So those will be the next two. So, great. Thank you very much.
thank you. We'll-
Thank you, Dr. Lovett.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll close
Dr.
that public meeting. Thank you so much. Okay, where am I? Information discussion items. There are no additional information discussion items outside of this evening's agenda for the board, so we will move on to action items. P1, approval of Resolution 1819-04, ratifying purchase order for furniture. Chris Mampanitis, Chief Business Official.
Good evening, trustees. Pardon my bringing the computer. I need some assistance in reading the length of these this evening. What we're asking for in P1 is approval of Resolution 1819-04. This is ratification of the purchase order for furniture. The actual purchase was verbally approved by the board. Delivery has been made. This is one of two orders for new classroom furniture, K through 8, district-wide. So we're looking for ratification of that first purchase made out of bond funds in the amount of $89,577.92.
So moved.
Oh, this, yes, thank you. Second?
I second.
Thank you. This will be a roll call vote. Thank you. Jumping it there a little. Okay. Sarah Kirby-Gonzalez.
Aye.
Kobe Pizzati.
Aye.
Jackie Wong.
Aye.
And I also vote aye. Unanimously approved.
Thank you.
P2, approval of Resolution 1819-05, ratifying purchase pursuant to public contract. Chris Mampanitis, again.
Correct. Thank you, trustees. This second item is the larger portion of the purchase. District staff previously issued the purchase order, and furniture has been purchased and delivery has been made for the beginning of the school year. So P2 is seeking the ratification of that procurement, again, from Measure V, in the total of $1.065 million, again, for new furniture district-wide K through 8.
So moved.
Can I get a second, please?
I'll second.
And this is a roll call vote. Sarah Kirby-Gonzalez.
Aye.
Kobe Pizzati.
Aye.
Jackie Wong.
Aye.
And I too vote aye. Unanimously approved. We will now move to P3, approval of English learner reclassification criteria, educational services. And thank you.
Come on up, friends.
Andy Parsons and Amber Lee.
Good evening, President Akala, Board of Trustees. So as you know, in 2012, the state adopted Common Core state standards. So with new standards brought a new round of assessments, and the SBAC was created. Then following that, they adopted new English language learner development standards, English learner standards. And with that also came new assessments. They were a little bit slower creating the English learner assessments than the SBAC. And so this past spring, we saw the first round of implementation of our new English learner assessment called LPAC, English Learner Proficiency Assessment, California. And so with that, we have new criteria for reclassifying our English learners. So I'm going to turn it over to our Director of PACE, Gwen Dellinger, to give you a little bit more information about the LPAC and the new English learner reclassification criteria.
Good evening, trustees. So the LPAC is long in coming. The ELD standards changed, English language development standards changed in 2012. California Common Core standards were adopted in 2010. SBAC came along. So we've been struggling in our English language development classes, teaching to a test that didn't exist yet. So what LPAC does is it is aligned to the new standards. It is much more rigorous. So that's a little bit of, it's caused a little concern with the LEAs about, are we still going to reclassify our kids at the same rate? So we don't know yet because it is just the first year, but I will say just anecdotally, the reaction from our teachers and our testers has been that the kids are stepping it up, and that because teachers are more involved in the process, they're actually testing their kids in groups. They're understanding where the kids need to get so that they can be reclassified. And the really important thing about getting these kids reclassified before they get to River City or YOLO is that then they're open to take A through G classes. So we're pretty excited about it. This is the first year that we're doing LPAC as initial and summative assessment. So when you look at the dashboard next year and it talks about reclassification, they won't show a change because this is new. And when we compare data from CELT to LPAC, it's really apples and oranges. So I ask that you keep that in mind as we look at the scores next year and at reclassification. And just know that our kids are doing it. And I think that just shows that when we raise a level of expectation, kids rise to the challenge, so.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you.
We need to-
Move. We need to approve them.
Yes,
I
yes.
move to approve.
Very good. May I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call. Oh, yes.
It's not a resolution.
No, it's not. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Also vote aye, unanimously approved. So we will now move to board governance. Q1, first read, board policy. I'm sorry. 3350, travel expense, business and non-instructional operations. Chris Mount Benitez, thank you.
Good evening again, trustees. This evening, we're bringing to you a revision to Board Policy 3350, which is our reimbursement policy. And by means of introduction, I'd just like to say that recently the board adopted a whole slate of updated policies that were taken from across the state and put into place in an attempt to really update all the policies quickly because they had been let go for a number of years. One of the unintended consequences of that is actually Policy 3350, where we moved the entire district from a per diem reimbursement to a line-by-line receipt process. However, we did so without the staffing needed to do so. And so what this policy is bringing back the option for employees to do either or. So they can submit per diem if per diem works for the employee. The process is easier, it's faster, the reimbursement occurs more quickly because review is more practical and easier. Or they can submit receipts and go through their supervisor for a line-on-line approval, which of course obviously takes more time and man hours or woman hours, depending upon the employee and supervisor. It also engages sometimes some back and forth because of the level of details of receipts and the understanding of the people approving versus those submitting. So it created unintentionally a great deal of backlog and work, and we didn't have a person there to actually do the work. So we're bringing this back to you and asking for the revision so that the employees have a choice of which process to go through.
Any questions or comments?
I just have a real quick question. So will you clarify for me why somebody would do a receipt if they could do per diem? Is it the same? It looks like it's the same.
The board's amount that it allows on a per-day expense for travel occurring outside the district for district business for an employee actually doesn't change depending upon the way that you submit. The per diem is just essentially a recognized amount of a minimum cost that it takes to be gone for an entire day outside of the district. Our per diem rate is not high. It's capped at $64, and that includes all incidental expenses such as tolls, et cetera. And so it's not a high rate. So somebody might choose to submit receipts if the per diem amount does not cover the cost of their travel. And that actually happens quite a bit. People always say to me, well, you know, if you go to San Diego or Los Angeles or San Francisco, we actually can't travel and cover the expenses of doing business for the district on the per diem rate unless we have to like hunt outside of the conference to find places to eat. And so that offers the employee and the supervisor the opportunity to go above the per diem rate because the cost of doing business is high. Interestingly enough, that also happens to people coming to Sacramento from other parts of the state. We are also identified as an area, downtown Sacramento convention area, where the standard per diem doesn't work, which is interesting to note.
So, thank you. So I read it then incorrectly because when I read current maximum, I thought that meant for receipts as well. And so is there any maximum or for receipts? Am I missing that on here? 'Cause I don't
Maximum is
see it.
still $62 unless you receive the approval of your supervisor in advance of attending the conference based
Okay.
on where the conference is located.
Okay.
Or if you go out of state and you, again, receive approval in advance of attending the conference, that you anticipate your receipts might be higher. for standard meals for the conference area.
So if you haven't gotten pre-approval, then it wouldn't make sense to do receipts. You could just do your per diem.
That's correct.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure I understood that. Thank
Receipts
you.
are still
Got it.
required for out-of-state, though.
Okay, got it. Makes
Trustee Pizzotti has a question.
So the per diem would also include parking? Is that?
So if you accept per diem, that covers all of your expenses. That's
Okay.
correct, with the exception of mileage, which is a separate reimbursement per
Right.
IRS policy.
So you say go to someplace in, say, San Francisco for a conference where parking may be $40 a day, right?
Or more.
Or more.
Correct, yes.
You know, you've already eaten up most of your food money.
Correct.
So, okay.
I'm sorry, Chris. Actually, the edit is that meal costs are per diem. The parking doesn't, it's not indicated that the parking's included in the per diem.
So when you take per diem, it includes incidentals. And so incidentals right now include anything such as tolls or parking. And so to Trustee Pizzotti's point, if you take per diem, then it does exclude some costs. So employees traveling to higher cost areas where parking is, I was just back home in San Francisco, and I think the cheapest one I could find in my own old neighborhood was $59 for the evening. People that are going to high-cost areas, if they are driving, then they would need to submit receipts and make sure that their supervisor's approving that in advance.
Okay.
Okay, very good.
Good.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Need
We'll
a
now
motion.
move on
just
to
a first read,
board governance, okay. Q2, CSBA Equity Network Participants, Jackie Wong.
Okay. It has been decided that trustee Sarah Kirby-Gonzalez will join me in the CSB Equity Network series. So, thank you for agreeing, and we will be your representatives as part of the 10 districts selected to be part of this equity network. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And we are now moving over to board comments. So we will start with Sarah Kirby-Gonzalez.
Okay. I don't have we already talked about our forum, and I'll just say thank you to all of our staff who's been working hard, of course, all summer, but now that our kids are back in school, and my daughter had a lot of first day jitters, but she's just so happy to be there. And as a working parent, as we all are, it's so nice to know that our children are being well taken care of and are happy at school, learning a lot. And so we appreciate you very much. I want to share then, thinking about this equity, is there are a lot of times here, of course this will change as we go into our district elections down the road, but where I don't say my daughter's school, and that's simply because of the equity piece of wanting to show that all schools are good, and I love my time on every single campus. And so I often will say, oh, my daughter's school or here, and it's been because of that lens. And so I just want to share, it was a comment was made about needing representation, and of course, these comments are very important about maps, so we very much appreciate it. But in the meantime, we're your representatives, and we've been elected here, and we want to represent you and serve you, and it's been an honor to do so, and I really appreciate my time on every single campus and in every neighborhood in our city. So give us a phone call, send us an email, and we're here to reach out. And so I appreciate all those people who already have this school year, and so thank you to everybody again.
Thank you. Trustee Pizzotti.
Yeah. So I also attended the backpack giveaway with basically every other trustee. So I just wanted to say it was a great event. You know, Trustee Wong and I did a drive to raise supplies for the giveaway. And then the giveaway itself, it was pretty amazing event because I saw parents with their kids lined up around the corner and down the street, and it was really great to see all our staff there helping out as well. So thank you to everyone, and especially the people at the Yolo County Children's Alliance for all their hard work that they do, but also our staff for all the hard work that they do in helping that situation. My next item is that tomorrow, Trustee Kirby Gonzalez and I will be at River City High School for a check presentation of $20,000 from AT&T to the West Sac Foundation for the Future Ready program. This is a very generous donation of $20,000 into the summer internship program, which we are one of the largest providers of internships out of all the people that are, or all the organizations that are participating. WSD generally participates in the largest fashion, and it's really great that we're getting help from our business partners in the community. So I just like to say, first and foremost, thank you, AT&T, for donating, such a generous amount of $20,000. That's outstanding. And then I'd like to piggyback on something that was said by Trustee Kirby Gonzalez in terms of the maps and the schools. One of the commenters said that they would like, one representative for one school. That's the number of schools that we have in our district make that impossible. So you can't have just one trustee per one school. There's just no way of doing that. So there's too many facilities and schools in order to do that unless you expanded the board exponentially. And that's one thing that, I talked about early on was potentially moving to a 7-member board. But even then, we still wouldn't have enough board members to do that. But I just wanted to make that known that it's just not possible to have one school for one trustee area. So, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Wong.
Thank you. Again, I want to echo kind of thank you to the YCCA and our support staff who actually helped organize the backpack, and my kids and I were there giving out backpacks and cookies, so I may have missed a few of you as we were trying to move around shades. But it's really lovely to see our students actually come out at such varying ages and giving out those backpacks and those bikes, right? And so the other thing that I wanted to kind of share is that it didn't occur to me that they also actually take bikes from the communities, and I learned that, and so instead of selling it for like $10 online, consider giving it to YCCA so that they can it can be part of the giveaway in the fall. And so my children really benefited from that. Even I made them pull some weeds, made it a game, and so they pulled some weeds over there, and so it was really good for them to be part of that, and it's really great to actually see us to kind of work together across with the City Council and us to kind of get this done. We had 850 backpacks put together. I think that's a total, and again, really proud of that moment. Also was able to attend new teacher orientation. And I actually had a really interesting conversation with CTA and WSTA about kind of working together to implement implicit bias training. And so I know that's in the works, and hopefully we can continue that conversation about what that might look like, building on our equity work and our equity frame, because that's been, ever since I've actually been on the board, something that's important to me in terms of diversity in that lens and how implicit bias actually does play out in everything we do, from the classroom to, classified staff to, the cabinet. And so just kind of wanting to kind of implement that across the district. So hopefully we'll begin those conversations soon. I was able to actually also go to back to school night at River City. I'm sorry, Don, I didn't see you. I was in the parking lot. There was a parent who actually locked his keys in his car. So I was, anyways, I won't kind of go into that, but spent some time in the parking lot, but caught the end of it. It was, it's always just really magical to see everybody. Everything went smoothly, seeing all the student groups there. And so I was not able to make it to a classroom or your classroom, so I apologize for that, but it was well-intentioned. This parent was stuck there since 5, and yeah. So in any case, and we do what we need to do to support our parents and students. So I was also able to attend Bridgeway middle grades orientation, and that was extremely exciting. to see because the number of engaged teachers and family members and staff, and just really the excitement of what middle, kind of their children coming into 6th grade, and just realizing that some of the students that I coached during soccer are now middle schoolers. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe you're in middle school, and so kind of seeing their excitement and their growth, but really loving the conversations and the presentations from the teachers about collaboration and the importance of collaboration. Across subject areas to kind of focus on kids. So it was really good to hear that, and just the excitement of the parents of comments over. I'm running into folks in the neighborhood that Washington Middle College every day. Like today, a parent ran into me and said, "Jackie, my son wants is so excited ever since we've taken over Washington Middle College as a dependent charter. He wants to get an AA and a BA and a BS." And a PhD and an MA and an MBA, but it's kind of like that culture shift of like seeing the possibility with kind of all of our programs in our school is really, really exciting. I feel like every single day I hear a new comment from a parent about all the really great things that are happening. And then another parent I ran in today about starting the Spanish immersion program, and how excited that they are that we brought that that program here. And so there's a lot of really great things happening, and it's just really kind of great to be in the community and hear that about all the investments that we've made, and the prior board, before I even came on the board, about making those investments for our students and our parents and our community. So I know that oftentimes we focus on the negative things or kind of the little things that we might miss, but I just wanted to share all the kind of great feedback from just random parents who are just how's it going, and they're really proud of everything that's happening in Washington Unified, and that that's part of all of our staff, right? Across the aisle. So I also wanted to, lastly, at the last board meeting, there was a comment about a meet and greet that President Norma Alcala and I were going to make. I just want to be clear that that's not going to happen. I don't actually want to engage in anything that may have an appearance of conflict of interest. And I know that there are 2 people up. I just want to be transparent about, I know 2 seats are up, and I don't want to, use any district resources that might come across as, campaigning. So I will not be participating in a meet and greet that may kind of have a flare of a conflict of interest or something that may be using district resources that are inappropriately. So I wanted to make that comment.
Okay, thank you. Well, my granddaughter started her first year at River City High School, and she absolutely loves it. She actually made the volleyball team, and I was able to go to back-to-school night. That was just absolutely fantastic. I went right after Trustee Kirby Gonzalez and I had the CVRA MAPS meeting over at Stonegate, and my daughter was there. It was great seeing all the enthusiasm. It's just great seeing all the students starting a new school year. So I'm getting to find out a lot more about the high school than I knew, because she tells me every single day things that have gone on there. And my husband got so, he was just so enthused overseeing the students. He used to actually teach debate, and he volunteered to, with Principal Moisage, to actually look into getting a debate team going at River City High School. So Principal Moisage was very, very excited about the possibility. So it's wonderful to see the community come out and wanting to share all their talents with our students. It's really important that everyone come out and contribute in any way they can, because like they say, it takes a whole village to raise a child. So that was great seeing that last night. And that is the end of my report. We will now go on to future board agenda items. S1, 2018-19, board priorities. S2, budget study session. S3, facilities study session. And S4, student progress in the California dashboard for 2018. Okay, we can add that. I'm sorry. So sorry. Oh, well, I'm sorry.
What was?
What was it?
The handbook? Okay.
Wasn't that on there last time?
Okay, we can add that on.
So, yeah.
And then,
That was on there for September or something.
and then we
Sorry.
publicly discussed that we were going to do superintendent overarching goals to be shared
Okay, I believe that was
in September.
Right, I think that was the board priorities that, we referenced here? 2018, 19?
This is different.
Okay, what is
Yeah.
that then?
The superintendent.
Superintendent, I'm sorry.
There may have been a blue slip on it a while ago, but it happens.
The overarching goals that was shared publicly, that we were going to do that in
Okay.
September.
Very good. So Ruth? Okay, thank you so much.
There are lots of things in our future.
Okay, very good. So now we will move to adjournment. Do I have a motion? Okay.
8:10, yes,
Wow,
I will
know, very
second.
good. Adjourned.